Well, not that I expected President Biden to make any sense in anything he says anymore. However, this State of the Union was particularly unintelligible. We have not been a nation of laws for some time now. We are a nation of political will. So I don't ever expect pro-abortion Democrats to make much sense of anything because if you can't get the right to life right, you won't get any other rights right. Have you noticed this about people? When they're pro-abortion, they're almost consistently wrong on almost everything else. There are some exceptions. Tomi Lahren's an example, right? She's like pro-abortion, but she's like pretends to be a conservative. Most people, if they're for abortion, they check most of the rest of the check boxes of progressivism or socialism or the secular moral revolution or humanism, whatever you want to call it. There's a reason for that. If you think that we're not endowed with inalienable rights, yeah, you're going to screw up everything else too. Weeks ago, every Democrat in the House of Representatives, except one, voted for infanticide. Again, they've done this for years now. They don't want babies who survive botched abortions, failed abortions, and are born in the process of the abortion to be granted medical care and legal protection. Okay, so these people want abortion through point of birth. You can trust them to screw up everything else, okay? So that was my first sort of reaction. Secondly, President Biden said in the State of the Union, he said, we must see each other not as enemies, but as fellow Americans. He said, we are a good people, the only nation in the world built on an idea. What was that? He said, quote, that all of us, every one of us is created equal in the image of God. Hey, President Biden, does every one of us include the preborn? No, of course it doesn't, because the preborn must be filtered out of sight by the theory that comes along with abortion rights. Their injuries and lives can't be allowed to count or to matter because it compromises the entire liberal establishment. Because they've convinced so many people to celebrate, champion, and fund the slaughter of babies in the womb, the rest of their political project gets easier, right? If you can liberate yourself, even from the constraints of human nature itself, and decide that some humans, while humans, are not persons with dignity, then there's no limiting principle to those premises and to that political project. Do you see why abortion matters so much to them now? And then President Biden seamlessly transitioned his comments on abortion to his comments on transgenderism. Right after saying he'd veto any national ban on abortion, right after saying we need abortion, he immediately transitions. That's not a coincidence that he conflates those two things in his mind. It's not a coincidence that Planned Parenthood has always been in bed with the LGBTQIA LMNOP alphabet mafia agenda. Have you noticed this, how they're all on the same team? Okay, there's a reason for that. It's because it's the same religion. They're functioning off of the same ideas, the same worldview. The old heresy of body self-dualism that says the body doesn't mean anything. It's who I see myself to be. It's my thoughts, my consciousness, and my desires. That's a person. The body's not a person. This is not a body. It's just a shell for the real person, which is why a girl can be inside a male body, because the real person is not the body. It's the thoughts, consciousness, and desires. Same reason they can say the baby may be a human. It's a human. Obviously, it's a human. We all know that. But it's not a person, because real persons are not bodies. Their thoughts, aims, consciousness, and desires. And because the baby is not developmentally capable of exercising self-awareness or desires, then the real person is not present yet. That's what the pro-abortion person says. It's literally the same exact worldview, and old heresy is the foundational premises upon which transgenderism and the abortion behemoth are built. And then lastly, a bunch of pro-abortion Democrats wore these little lapel pins that said abortion, and literally in the O of the letter O in the word abortion, there's a little heart. A little heart. What? So you're celebrating what, life? Like people that have beating hearts? Like, oh, but not the babies whose hearts you stop beating when you murder them. One pro-abortion Democrat here said, I say the word, I wear the word. Abortion care is health care. Abortion care saves lives. Guess who provided them with these pins? Planned Parenthood. The Democrat Party is Planned Parenthood's favorite party. And Biden's State of the Union address was just a reminder once again of the priorities of this administration, which is to wipe out children in the womb, to harm and chop up children outside the womb if you don't get them in the womb,